Second graders, seems like a good time for another chapter of Wayside School. If your grown-ups don't know about Wayside School, you should let them know that there's a lot of silly characters and a lot of what happens in here is just plain craziness. Fill them in on what we've read so far. All right, chapter 15. She's back. Dee Dee ran across the playground screaming. At first, Louis thought she was having fun, but then he realized something was wrong. He hurried after her and grabbed her arm. Dee Dee, are you all right? He asked. She stared at him wide-eyed as she continued to scream. You stare wide-eyed. Several other kids gathered round. What's wrong with Dee Dee? Asked Myron. I don't know, said Louis. Dee Dee hiccuped 3 times, then gasped. I saw her. Who? Asked Louis. Dee Dee didn't answer. She just stared right through him. But everyone else knew whom Dee Dee had seen. Most of them had seen her too during the last 2 weeks. Where was she? Asked Todd. On the monkey bars, said Dee Dee, still trembling and breathing hard. I should try that again. On the monkey bars. I was hanging upside down, and suddenly she was hanging upside down right next to me. Did she wiggle her ears? Asked Jenny. Only one, said Dee Dee. I jumped off and ran away before she could wiggle the other one. That's good, said Rondi. Who is she? Asked Louis. A hippopotamus? No, said Myron with a laugh. Why do you say that? Because when a hippopotamus gets mad, it wiggles its ears. She's worse than a hippopotamus, said Allison. I saw her last week at the water fountain, said Todd. I bent down to get a drink, and then there she was, drinking at the faucet next to me. I saw her on the stairs, said Rondi. I was going up the stairs, and she went right past me, sliding down on the banister. Do you have an idea who she is, second graders? Who? Asked Louis. Mrs. Gorf, said Dee Dee. Just saying her name sent a shiver through her body. Oh, your old teacher, said Louis with a shrug. Is she back? I always wondered what happened to her. The children looked at each other. Mrs. Gorf was the teacher they had before Mrs. Jules took over. They had never told anyone how they had gotten rid of her. They especially couldn't tell Louis. She was the meanest teacher in the history of Wayside School. Of course, there are other teachers at other schools who are meaner. Louis looked toward the monkey bars. I don't see her, he said. Well, she was there, Dee Dee insisted. I saw her. You just imagined you saw her, Dee Dee, said Louis. If you don't like someone, or if you love somebody, you often think you see that person when she isn't there. It's very common. It's just like Mrs. Drizzle. Who's Mrs. Drizzle? Asked Todd. She was the worst teacher I ever had, said Louis. He shivered just thinking about her. Can you shiver? She was my teacher when I was your age. I sometimes think I see her too, and I still have nightmares about her. Was she mean? Asked Rondi. She was horrible, said Louis. Every morning she used to check our fingernails. If they were dirty, she'd tell the whole class, Louis has dirty fingernails this morning, she'd say in a really nasty voice. And if you talked in class, she would pick up the waste paper basket and put it over your head. You had to leave it on your head until the bell rang. Did she ever put it on your head? Asked Todd. Lots of times, said Louis. Everybody laughed. It wasn't funny, said Louis. My mother always knew when I got in trouble because I'd have bits of trash stuck in my hair. Did it get stuck in your mustache, too? Asked Rondi. Louis didn't have a mustache when he was our age, asked Allison. Did you, Louis? She asked. Suddenly, Louis screamed. Everyone stared at him. She's back, he shouted as he shook with fear. Then he slapped himself in the face. Excuse me, he said. Sorry, for a second I thought I saw Mrs. Drizzle. He turned to Dee Dee. Come on, let's go to the monkey bars. No, declared Dee Dee. I'm not going back. I'm never getting on the monkey bars again. Louis took hold of her hand. Mrs. Gorf isn't there, he said. You just imagined her. They headed to the monkey bars. No one else dared to follow. If she starts to wiggle her ear, run away as fast as you can, warned Dee Dee. She held tightly onto Louis's hand. When they reached the monkey bars, no one was there. Where were you when you saw her? Louis asked. I was hanging upside down right over here, said Dee Dee, pointing. Okay, go hang upside down, said Louis. No, exclaimed Dee Dee. Don't worry, I'll be right here in case anything happens. It had rained during the night, so the sand under the monkey bars was wet and somewhat hard. Dee Dee walked across the sand and pulled herself up onto the bar. She hooked her legs over, then hung from her knees. Well, do you see her? Louis asked. No, it's safe, said Dee Dee. Thanks, Louis. I guess you're right. I must have seen my shadow or something. Dee Dee pulled herself right side up, then hopped down from the monkey bars. Mrs. Drizzle sounds almost as bad as Mrs. Gorf, said Dee Dee. She was, said Louis. She once made me put gum on my nose because I was chewing gum in class. How can you chew your nose? Asked Dee Dee. Behind them, Dee Dee's footprints could be seen in the wet sand under the monkey bars. There was also another set of footprints made by a person who had much bigger feet. Whose footprints do you think those were? Let me know.